Jamar Perkins. It's crunch time. It's crunch time here, live in the studios of Austin Peay. Zach Pugh, joined as always by Jamar Perkins and Reese Britt. Gentlemen, it's great to be back here, to finally have another season of this show, and we get to start with a little bit of a recap. But before we do that, how was your breaks? How have you enjoyed it? Jamar, I know you had a special thing that happened to you over the summer. How's everything going?
I would say especially, yes, I got married over the summer, so definitely was an exciting moment in my life.
A little roller clap for that one.
But it's been fun. Definitely want to real quick jump into it. I know we didn't get to cover it because it was during the summer, but shout out to my Golden State Warriors, for winning the NBA championship. They beat a certain castmates team, the Boston Celtics, Reese.
Hey.
Shades being thrown early this season. We haven't even got through the first
5
segment.
minutes in.
We'll get into it, though, but just wanted to congratulate them and say that I told y'all so from the beginning of the season.
I knew it was coming. I literally knew it was coming.
Hey, if you don't believe me, I got the proof on FanDuel. But
You do.
anyways,
You do.
Zach,
and you do.
how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's just kind of coming back, getting into the swing of things again, sophomore year.
Did I just call you Zach?
You did.
But that's
You did.
all right.
No,
I threw it.
Reese?
Yeah.
How you
Yeah,
doing,
it was
Zach?
because the shade. The shade you threw, it was your own
yeah,
karma coming back at you.
That's
Yeah.
No, but golf's going well. I finished 19th, so top 20 in the first tournament. Shot 3 under for 3 days, a 67 on the last one, which was 5 under there. So
Good job, man.
yeah, I'm playing well right now, so I'm excited. But what about you, Zach?
Man, you know what? My break was phenomenal. I had a chance to relax, get a chance to check on my father, and a couple other things that are happening with the family. Everybody's doing good. Everybody's checking through real good, and I got to prepare for calling games with him and everything else. So it's been great. I'm happy to be back and getting into the swing of things. With that being said, we're going to jump straight into Austin Peay football recap because we are obviously in week 5 of our official season. But we haven't had a chance to talk yet because we've all been busy with other things, right? So I'm going to do a quick recap. Week 0, Austin Peay had the lovely ability to play the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. They lost 38-27. They were not projected to do good in that game, and they did really well. And on top of that, they beat Presbyterian at home 63-0. They had another home game against Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils, and they beat them 41-0. And then they just got done beating the Alabama A&M Bulldogs 3-28. The Austin Peay State Governors are 3-1 on the year right now. They've scored 159 points this season with 104 unanswered points scored at home. And they get to play Eastern Kentucky Colonels, right?
Colonels.
Yeah, the Colonels. This Saturday at home. EKU is looking for their 3rd win of the season. They're both ranked games. Guys, tell me what you have on this.
Really exciting game. Top first 5 ranked matchup in homecoming history. That'll be a fun game. I think the fort should be packed because that's a big game. But, it's fun. You got Eastern Kentucky being at 16 and us being ranked 23. So we win this game. Who knows what we can end up. Yeah, we'll jump. And it's exciting. Definitely a challenge. And it'll be the second most challenging team we've played, of course, playing Western Kentucky. And I think as far as jumping into how Austin Peay's done these past 2 games, you say, okay, Presbyterian, Mississippi Valley, Delta Devils, who are they? Those are just easy teams. But the thing is, when you have good teams, that's what they're supposed to do, and that's what Austin Peay has proven. So I think just them showing that is okay, when we play this good team that's Eastern Kentucky, it's going to be a good game. We have a great chance to beat them. So I'm very excited to watch this.
And I think the light is kind of shining on Austin Peay's defense.
Absolutely.
Right now, the offense, they're scoring. They're averaging 39.75 points per game, but the defense has given up 3 points in the last 3 outings.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. They call them
phenomenal.
Black Rain. They're really bringing the hurt into a lot of these teams. And like you were saying, Presbyterian and Mississippi Valley State, it is what it is. You're supposed to go in there and dominate a team that is, less athletic than you, might not be as well coached as you are. So they did what they're supposed to do, and I'm really excited for this game this weekend.
Not just that for this weekend. 104 unanswered points scored at home. This is their first home opponent that they'll actually get that has an offense that is up to par that what we expect, and it's their first ASUN conference fight. It's their first time fighting somebody at homecoming, being a ranked team as well nationally. So there's a lot of firsts here for Austin Peay. In fact, the Alabama A&M and the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils were the first time that we had played anyone from that conference.
Wow.
Ever. So it's very, very interesting to see how the Governors have been handling this, and I think that gives us a good transition. As I'd like to mention that Mike DeLello has done a great job at quarterbacking for the Governors.
He really has.
A great job at quarterbacking for the Governors. But mentioning that, I want to transition over to the college football rankings in the top 10. As I have right now, obviously Georgia 3-0, Alabama at number 2, Ohio State at number 3. This is according to the AP poll on Monday. Tuesday, sorry, this past Tuesday. Ohio State at 3-0 in third, fourth Michigan, fifth Clemson, sixth Oklahoma, seventh USC, Kentucky's at 8, Oklahoma State at 9, and then Arkansas sitting there rounding out the top 10 with the Vols actually in 11th. And I know that a certain someone will not be here for the Austin Peay game because they're doing something this weekend. Reese, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I will actually be in Knoxville, Tennessee for that game. Going to try and go to College game day, maybe make a pit stop at the Barstool game day, and then I'm gonna try and make my way into the game. Yeah, so
Barstool game day is awesome, by the way.
It is, yeah. I'm excited. They're going to be at a downtown bar and grill on the Strip, so I'm going to try and sneak in to see Dave and Big Cat and see what I can do there. But I'm excited, man. This is probably the most electric Knoxville's been in a while. And it's a sight for sore eyes. Tennessee's supposed to, in previous years, they haven't been as good as what they should,
No, you're right.
And it's a sight, that we haven't seen in a while with Tennessee being ranked 11th. We could be looking at a top 5 matchup going with 3 weeks, later in the season with Alabama. When Alabama comes to town, they would have had to beat Florida this upcoming week, and then the Vols have to make a trip to Baton Rouge the next. If they beat both those teams going into Bama's 5-0, we could be looking at a top 5 matchup.
A very good possibility for that as well. I honestly think Bama should be a little lower on this ranking personally. Okay. The game against the Longhorns.
Yeah.
That Texas game, which first off, congrats on Texas. Proved that they actually might have a good shot in the SEC when they transition over next year. There's a lot of great possibilities with that team, right? It looks amazing, the fact that happened. But you watch that game, and if you're an Alabama fan, you should be scared.
Yeah.
And you should be worried because that's not the same Alabama Crimson Tide you've watched for the last 5 years. And it's not been that way for the last 2 seasons alone. I mean, the fact that Georgia sits atop number 1 should be proof as it is. I want to tell you another thing, and then I want to transition over here to you, Jamar, and see what you think about this. Kentucky being in 8th shocks me. That is a huge shocker. Kentucky basketball in the top 10 makes sense. Tennessee, UT being in the top 10 makes sense for the last 5 years, as you mentioned, them both struggling.
Right.
But Kentucky being in the top 10, that's a shock to me, and it's a team that's actually been playing quite well for the SEC. Jamar, you got anything on that?
I love stuff like that when it comes to schools that are known as basketball schools showing up, and that's been Kentucky's kind of been on the rising these past couple years when it comes to football, and it makes me all the more interested as far as a Tennessee matchup to see. Okay, now of course it was a big rivalry in basketball. We might see a nice match in football as well. But one thing I wanted to kind of throw out there as far as you guys to discuss. I feel really bad because I was excited for Coach Marcus Freeman, his start, but Notre Dame is not looking like, they're not looking too hot.
Well, we could mention that and the LSU coach at the same time, too.
Yeah, I understand. We can
Kelly
tie that
also
in
had a problem,
too,
too, and neither Notre Dame nor LSU, both coaches adamantly came in looking like they were going to be great. And then Kelly with the responses about, if we were winning, maybe we would get more people at our press conferences and stuff like that, or they'd show up on time. It's all been very interesting this year in college football with the NIL deals and all of that. We've seen a different side of the coaches. We've seen a different side of every team. And I agree with you. I think Notre Dame has had some issues that they should be able to fix.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say something about Notre Dame, and it's not. And what's kind of worrisome about it is it's not the defense. It's not the defense's problem right now. First game against Ohio State, giving up 21 points. That was supposed to be the most electric offense in the country this year in Ohio State with all the playmakers they had on the outside. You go next week, against Marshall. They lost to Marshall. They only gave up 26 football points. Right. You know what I'm saying? Then, you go next week, they won, but they gave up 17 against Cal. You know what I'm saying? It's just like defensive-wise, they're really good. They're a pretty good bunch, but offense, they can't figure it out.
And talking about it, too, looking at LSU's schedule, they play New Mexico. Should be a win. Should be a win. And they'll take on Auburn. That'll be a little tough. And they play Tennessee the week after that. So
After the way I watched them play week 1 or week 0 against Florida State, they ain't beating Auburn. Sorry. I look, you know me. I'll go on record all the time saying these things, and I will happily apologize. For instance, Memphis didn't win the NBA, so as we transition to the NBA and start talking about all that stuff that's happened while we've been away, I will humbly apologize to you as a fan. I thought they were going to win, and they didn't. Golden State got it, so I'm happy for Golden State to win the championship. But I'll always humbly apologize. But there's no way LSU beats Auburn.
For sure.
It's not happening. Yeah. Not with the way they played Florida State. I'm sorry.
Where is that game? Is that in Jordan-Hare?
At Auburn.
Okay,
yeah, there's no way. There's no way. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
We shall see.
But Auburn didn't look good last week. They lost, 41-12, 42-12 or something like that to Penn State. So, and Penn State's a good bunch of players, but still, I mean, it's Auburn. I don't know.
They'll find a way to beat Alabama somehow randomly with a kickoff at the end of the season because it always happens. No, I'm very interested to see how the rest of the college football rankings play off. I got word the other day that it has been approved that I think as early as 2026, I believe, they'll do a 12-team playoff. It could be 2024 that we could see this happen as well. I think it's more 2026. That's more realistically a thing. Yeah. But 12 teams at this point take the bowl games away from the playoff aspect, make the bowl games individual, and give the playoff an actual playoff field. Because right now, these bowl games are useless. They don't come off as bowl games anymore because they're playoff games. And that's what they need to be. I understand the heritage in maintaining those, but you know what I mean. If we're going to do 12 teams, let's digress and change over those bowl games to some easier teams so they get the money they need, and these teams doing the playoffs get the money they need.
Yeah.
But
at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Right. It is.
Literally.
I mean, the NIL deal approves that, but we at least get NCAA sports back on all of our gaming systems.
Amen.
So, but with that being said, let's transition over to the NBA news. A lot of stuff has been happening in the National Basketball Association or National Basketball League or whatever we want to call it. LeBron James' contract was renewed 2 years. 2-year contract, $97.1 million. The extension puts him playing until 24-25 season. That's good for LeBron.
He entered the billionaire status a couple months ago.
I mean, you also got to look at like all of the amenities that come with that. I mean, I think overall that 97.1 puts him at like more like 400 to 500 million, not counting endorsement deals.
And then let's take a look at that 2-year deal, putting him until 24-25 season. He's doing that. Rumors have been true. He's trying to play with his son, Ronnie. So that would put him to wherever he goes, which makes me think too. I've been talking to some friends about it. If you're an NBA team, I think the Jazz, they just traded Bogdanovich.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. See, I did the same thing. Yeah.
I usually just call him Bogey, but they just traded him, and they're completely tanking. So I'm like, 2 years, they could mess around. But I don't know. Bronny James isn't a top 5 player right now.
So right now he's projected in the 2024 NBA draft, 39th overall.
Okay.
I did look that up before, so that's in the second round, but still.
Could very well still mean that the Lakers could get him, so it still could be a Lakers reunion. I personally think LeBron did, not just for the 2 years to play with his son, part of me thinks it's a chance for him to leave L.A. Because they're not building a team around him anymore like they were. They're trying to be more of an all-star team. Even though they say they're building around him, there's no way they're building around him.
It's supposed to be building around Anthony Davis, but he has to touch the court for them to actually do it. So
did Davis finally get away from that leg injury or whatever injury has happened this week?
I think he's going to play. But as with that, I think this is a good time to transition into some Lakers stuff. We talked Patrick Beverley's on the Lakers now, and they're talking about Russell Westbrook. I don't know, man. I keep seeing sources here. He's selling his home in L.A. He's looking to possibly, they're looking to possibly trade him, bring him off the bench, starting. Like, I don't know what's going to go on. I feel like you kind of just have to wait and see with this situation. But from what I'm told or what I've seen, he will be a Laker this season.
Yeah, and not to cut you off or anything like that. I had actually put in some of our notes here with Pat Beverley being traded. The rumor was that Russ would come off the bench the entire season. They have no will of trading him right now, and there's no teams that want him. That's the other thing. There hasn't been a team to call L.A. and be like, hey, we see Russ on the bench now. Can we get him?
Apparently the Pacers did try to make a deal, but I believe the Pacers didn't like what the Lakers are trying to do.
And you got to think, too, LeBron wants Russ to stay there. He's come out openly and said that. He says he wants to be there. He wants him to be there because of the type of player he is. I just don't see now with Pat coming in, and we had talked about this earlier, and I'm gonna kind of come back a little bit on what I said when we talked off air the first time that we actually had this trade talk, right? And that was a couple weeks ago. I think Pat comes in and actually makes this team better. I think Russ being on the bench is a good thing for Russ because it gives him a chance to finally see that he's not playing at the caliber he needs to be playing at. But I don't think Russ is going to start anymore.
So with them, they did pick up, which that's funny, and Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I saw that.
How he turned out that huge or nice. I wouldn't say
he had
huge,
a great deal.
He had a nice deal, and then he just said, "I'm gonna test my options," and now I think he signed for about. I have to look. I'm gonna do some research while we're talking about this. I think it's about $3 million. It wasn't that much.
Good.
Like 1 year, $3
million. It wasn't compared to what he turned down. That's for sure.
He said, "I'm gonna bet on myself."
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. Bet on yourself. That's the whole portion of being in the league.
In the NFL season, we'll talk about him. Too. It looks like he's. I mean, he did lose this past week to the Dolphins, but we'll talk about that later. I'm sorry.
I wanted to bring.
I see the shots are being thrown quick. quick and fast today, just like that pass from the certain quarterback
Reese.
you're talking about.
Well,
Reese,
it seems like it's only coming from one side.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's coming from one
We
corner.
gotta start
over
swatting
there.
over
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
apparently.
Yeah.
So.
But I did want to say one thing. The 2021 season for Russ, he played in 78 games, 18.5 points per game, 7 rebounds. So really, he didn't play bad. Is it Russell Westbrook-esque? No, not really. But I mean, 18 points per game, 7 rebounds. He also averaged 7 assists. I mean, you're not getting no production from him. But still,
here's the worst part
not
about
what you need.
the worst part about those statistics that you left out was his 3-point average.
I did leave that out.
You left that out,
Yeah,
and that's
on
because there's a
purpose, but
drastic
yes,
change
yeah.
between when he joined the Lakers and when he wasn't with the Lakers.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but he just can't shoot a 3 in LA. He can
the
shoot a 3
Staples
anywhere
Center,
else,
man.
but he
It's the
can't.
Staples
I
Center.
know, but even there was other players that could shoot the 3.
Yeah,
Come on.
that's a fair point.
So let's move on. Let's move on real quick. The last thing for our NBA news that I want to mention. Well, there's one other thing too that we'll mention that isn't added into this, but Zion Williamson re-signs with the Pelicans for $193 million over 5 years with a chance of maxing out to $231 million. There is a clause about him maintaining his weight and being in physical shape to play. There's a lot of clauses in there about his play. This is one of the most weirdest, other than the Kyle Murray contract, that we eventually heard the amendments of those. This has been one of the weirdest times to kind of review a contract for a player and see something that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't see why they re-signed him if they're going to hold him to this much a standard, other than play ball.
His rookie season was so good. It's like, I mean, he did gain the weight, but he's slimmed down now. So it's like you have to expect that same stuff from him. So I think you definitely don't want to let him go.
Yeah, well,
no, absolutely, especially for the Pelicans, because when's the last time you had a player of this caliber on your team?
Yeah, I mean
Chris
Anthony
Paul.
Davis.
Anthony Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
You traded
You traded
traded
him.
both of them
that's a fair
away.
point. Yeah, but I mean, we even look back to 2019, which was supposed to be his actual rookie season.
Right.
Didn't play a game, tore his meniscus, and the next year
Right
played
before the
really
season,
well.
right?
Yeah, it was like maybe
Like
I
a
don't know,
week or
maybe
two.
Like a week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was random
know.
because people were like, "He's hurt." And when did
Yeah,
he get? How did he get hurt?
exactly.
And he got hurt like not even on the court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just you're paying all this money to a guy that really hasn't even played 100 games in his career yet. I mean, he's played well in the games that he has, but he just hasn't played enough, man.
Here's the question,
Yeah.
and obviously NBA, it's a league. It's a league of players. We all know this, right? Does Zion make that team a championship-winning team? Does he give them a chance to win a championship?
No, not at all.
No,
Have CJ
that-
McCollum, though.
And that's why you don't pay him $193 million for 5 years, because he's not been on the court for an entire season since his rookie season.
The thing, though, that fourth, fifth year, they might be in the championship contingency if they have
That's a big
another
might,
player.
though.
It is.
If he's not on the court for the first 3
That's
years
what
of
I'm
that
saying.
deal,
Who knows if he's even going to play?
yeah, if he's on the court for
That's a good
if he's on the court for 3 years, I agree with you. They might be in a chance. But if he's not on the court for those first 3 years, there's no way.
I think he can be a franchise player though. So it's like
Yeah.
I feel like you have to
And he
give
is.
him that money.
He is definitely a franchise player for the Pelicans,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I know they got McCullough and everything like that, but he's still the face of their franchise.
I mean,
because he's well known in that area.
That's like, I mean, you can talk about players like Damian Lillard,
Right.
or Bradley Beal. Like Bradley Beal's staying in Washington and just getting a bag.
just
He's no way he's
so
taking them
silly.
to the playoffs, the championship, anything like that.
Right.
But they're gonna keep paying that money just because of how
That
good
man
he is.
deserves a ring.
He does.
He
No,
does
I don't think he
deserve-
does because he decided
He
to stay in
chose to
Washington.
stay there.
He
Yeah,
just-
no, you're
he
right.
makes the
His
money
choice.
over
You're right.
the ring.
You're
so,
right.
I mean, I'm
But I mean,
just-
he can play, which is the whole reason why I'm like, man, why would you not at least try? Like, go get you one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I guess he wants to bring it to them, and I understand that aspect. In basketball, anybody can win any given day. Doesn't matter who's playing sometimes, or actually it does. Like AD should really play. But let's digress through that.
One thing though I want to
Yeah.
bring in is that
Oh, that-
Ime
yeah.
Udoka situation.
Yeah, the Celtics.
Boston Celtics head coach just broke out recently that he had a consensual, intimate relationship with a female worker on the team, and because of that, I guess it's like a no tolerance policy from the organization.
Right.
So they're talking about suspending him possibly for a year, and it's also came out that he's considering retirement as well, just because of the situation. Which, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's understandable for that, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? And we had the conversation of this off camera, and I think it's really messed up that at a time when the league itself has problems with an owner who made misogynistic comments and other comments, and they're forcing him to sell a team, the guy that was in a committed relationship and had issues in said committed relationship is getting punished. I get it that it's against company policy and all that to fraternize with people and all that, and I think he's married to it.
And see, I was going to say that too, man. Like, I'm very torn because
it's a very weird situation, right?
He's with a very famous celebrity, Nia Long, and I think Twitter's on him because I mean she's known to be an attractive woman, and it's like you really fumbled Nia Long.
Cole put her in the lyrics, you know.
J. Cole put her in the lyrics,
man.
And it's just
he was making a shout out. I guess he knew ahead of time what was going on.
So I mean, now I don't know what happened though. Maybe that's the thing. You don't know if he cheated on his.
That's the point. We don't know.
We're not in their business, you know. But from what it looks like, he had a relationship with a coworker, and now he's possibly losing a whole season. When you have other athletes that have done a lot worse, and
absolutely, and that are still in the league.
Yeah.
Not to name names.
You almost wonder if that's just it couldn't have happened to a worse franchise too, with how tight and buttoned up they are at the top.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if this happened with the Pelicans or with the Jazz or with the Magic, you know,
or the Grizzlies.
It doesn't
or anyone
matter.
Else.
Yeah, it would kind of be almost swept under the rug. It wouldn't be, but it
not one of your
would.
top 5 organizations that makes you a lot of money.
First year, just went to the finals. His first
took
year,
him to the finals with nothing, basically with 2 players.
Let's move real quick into Major League Baseball news. With just about 2 weeks or just under 2 weeks of left in Major League Baseball, the hunt for October is going to start happening for that coveted World Series trophy. It is set to begin on October 7th. The predicted postseason as of the end of the day right now is that number 1 seed for the American League is Houston, with New York Yankees being number 2. You've got Cleveland Guardians being at number 3. The not Tampa Bay. Toronto Blue Jays at number 4. Tampa Bay Rays at number 5. And then right now Seattle's out at number 6 for the American League. For the National League, it's the Dodgers, the Mets, then the Cardinals, which I'm very, very, very excited about to see them actually up there with Albert Pujols still trying to get his big home run runs right now. The Phillies are also in that mix-up as well, the Padres and the Braves. The Braves are a wild card team right now with about 92 wins. They have not won their division. That would be the Mets that have currently won the division. Just a real quick thing, guys. I don't know if you guys have much on baseball or not, if you want to add some stuff in. I know that 2 teams. I bet you will.
I'll add one thing.
I know that 2 teams are still playing in the American League wildcard spot. Seattle's a half a game back from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a 1.5 game back from Toronto. Actually, 2.5 as updated this morning. The Phillies are in a similar situation with the Mariners right now being a half game back from the Padres. With the Padres being in the NL wildcard for now, I think the Padres are probably going to end up losing that. With no Fernando Tatis, it's just hard to maintain. I know Tatis got mixed up with performance-enhancing drugs and all that, but look. PEDs, regardless, he was still having a good season, and after the trades that happened at the trade deadline, everyone thought the Padres were winning the World Series.
I'm gonna get on to you, Zach. Any like Tatis? You got a little link to it.
Probably.
Fernando Tatis.
Probably. I just
Tatis.
It's my Southerner in me that doesn't read read it properly.
Tatis.
Yeah.
But,
Tatis.
But
look, man, this stuff's it happens.
I'm enjoying picking on you.
This man is just throwing it today.
But
it's all right. We got to get to football soon.
I want to talk about Aaron Judge. Obviously, he's having a great season.
Tied the roof.
60. Yeah. Trying to get that, was it 61 with Ty and 62? How was
60 tied.
Okay.
62 with Ty Maris, and then I think there's 2 more people for him to beat before he has the record.
But
I'm not a big Yankees fan, but I'm pretty sure there's only 2 more guys that he's got to beat.
I remember it was a discussion like MVP, like should he win it and all that. And then people talked about him, and some people thought that Shohei Ohtani deserved it more.
I think he does.
But I don't know how much I know in NBA it's kind of about winning, but like where are the Angels on this postseason picture?
Well, and you're absolutely right. But the difference is you've got a guy that pitches and bats and plays field to a guy that only bats and plays field. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why with Ohtani you get a guy that does all everything. That's why they're asking for MVP for him, because he does everything. But Judge actually gets it because of the production value. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's like saying LeBron James should win an MVP every year because he's good at all 3, and he can kind of, instead of a guy like James Harden that strictly only plays offense and wins an MVP. So I don't know. I'm a basketball guy, so I like comparing it. But
absolutely, we'll make this real quick, Reese, because we got to jump into football real fast. Go ahead.
I'll say 3 things. Let's go O's.
Yes.
Let's go O's.
For sure. 4 games out from the wild card for the Baltimore Orioles. The fact that they should have only had a 60-win season and they're at 72 right now is very impressive. I cannot wait to see if Baltimore can make it into that last wild card spot. Hopefully they get the one that Tampa Bay has so they can beat Toronto up, because I don't like Toronto.
Yeah, same here.
But moving into NFL news, we're doing something a little different this season for Crunch Time. We're doing weekly pick'ems. And I got to say, I am very, very excited for Weekly Pick'ems this week. Not only that, we do have to recap real fast the standings. The AFC North, they have a three-way tie for first right now with Pittsburgh at 1-1, Baltimore 1-1, Cleveland 1-1, and good old the Bengals sitting at 0-2 in last place. Woo! AFC South, Jacksonville leading the division right now with 1-1. And you got Houston 0-1-1, Indy with 0-1-1, and Tennessee with 0-2. We'll talk a little bit about that too. Miami 2-0, Buffalo 2-0, New England 1-1, New York Jets 1-1. Kansas City leads the AFC West. Minnesota leads the NFC North. Tampa Bay leads the NFC South, and Philadelphia leads the East. And San Francisco currently is tied right now in the West with the Rams, the lovely, lovely Rams. So with that being said, our weekly pick'ems, for those that are viewing on the lovely screen, they'll get to see some of our graphics up today for that. The first game that I want to talk about is our Thursday night game, the Steelers versus the Browns. Cleveland is favored by 4.5 points, gentlemen. I've got Cleveland winning that game, and it was very tough to choose Cleveland or Pittsburgh in this because, Baltimore fan. So cannot stress this enough. I think Cleveland wins only for the fact that Pittsburgh is missing defensive pieces. And it's a run-heavy game.
I personally
30 mile an hour per wins right now is predicted.
Wow.
I just realized tonight I'll be busy, and I was like, I'm gonna miss Thursday night football. Then I realized who was playing, and I'm not that upset about it.
You're
'Cause
not
I
that
mean,
big of a
Steelers and the Browns, but if I had to pick, I would definitely say Steelers.
You got
I
Steelers
think
this
they're
pick?
gonna show up.
Reese, what do you got?
I've got Steelers as well. I think that they're just going to finally put it together. They're not. They're just not going to lose.
You're a Trubisky hopeful, if I see.
Yeah, I still think Pickett should be starting, but that's just
you were
me.
crazy.
Najee Harris is gonna have a good game tonight.
Crazy.
I agree with you too. I think Najee Harris is going to have a good game tonight, but I think Nick Chubb's going to outshine them all, unfortunately. Broncos versus the 49ers. This is in Denver. San Francisco, though, is favored by 1.5 points, but they've got a new quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Reese, we'll start with you. Who you got?
Yeah, I've got Broncos here. I don't think Russ is going to lose a game. It's at home too. That place is going to be wild, Mile High Stadium. So I'll give Broncos there.
Broncos, let's kick. But no, I got 49ers. I
couldn't
think
do the
Jimmy G is
intro.
gonna
Yeah.
Jimmy G is gonna explain why he should have had the job in the first place,
should.
and this is a big game for him. I think.
Unfortunately, I got Denver winning this one right now. I do think that Jimmy G is going to have a good game, but I think that Russell Wilson just can't say no at home after losing to Seattle too. There's just no way you can't try to get this game under your belt. Last game, not last game, second to last game, Monday Night Football. It's the Dallas Cowboys with their backup quarterback Cooper Rush versus the lovely New York Giants playing with Daniel Dimes Jones. I've heard that nickname.
He's
finally.
looking good, Loki.
2.5 points
Danny
favored
Dimes.
right now by the Giants. Jamar, who you got?
Got the boys. I think they'll take
Got
care
them boys.
They'll take care of business.
Okay.
The only reason I have the Cowboys, and I despise them being a Washington fan, I'll take Cowboys just because I don't think the Giants are going to put 3 good weeks of football together. They're going to drop back to 2-1. Give me the Cowboys.
I agree with you there a little bit, but unfortunately, what I have to say is I'm going to be the odd man out only because the Cowboys, the yeehaw Cowboys, are definitely going to have a struggle with that Giants defense. Their backup quarterback Cooper Rush being 22 for 47 on his attempts right now in the season. It is not good. It is not good at all. He has looked very, very off. Although he's come in for a game, obviously not the starter. Dak Prescott is the starter. So we'll see what happens. I do think New York's going to win that game, though, because it is in New York and they've been away for the last few games.
Giants have had some defensive injuries though, so we'll have to
You're
see
right.
if they could get that
Right.
cleaned up for them to be able to play.
My game of the week this week right now is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Packers. I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they don't have Mike Evans winning. I've got them beating the Packers. The Packers, Green Bay just cannot figure out what's happening on offense, guys. What do you guys think about that game?
I'll take Bucks as well. I think that Tom Brady. It's at Tampa Bay as well, Raymond James Stadium. So I just right now I don't like what I'm seeing from the Packers.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Devontae Adamless Packers is just not the same. Adam Rodgers is not the same guy, and I think
Aaron is definitely addicted to ayahuasca, so I don't think he's going to be playing as well as he should, unfortunately. But yeah,
did y'all see the interview? I'm not sure who he interviewed. Really quick, Aaron Rodgers saying that if he would fire his coach if he could.
Pat McAfee. I believe that's a Pat McAfee interview.
Oh
I think that was. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. He's been on McAfee's show a lot lately, and he is saying some stuff that's crazy.
That's typical Aaron Rodgers, man.
True though, I don't technically diregree with him. Matt LaFleur has not done great with Green Bay the last. They've been a playoff team, but you have an MVP caliber quarterback. Of course, you're going to be a playoff team. Real quick, I want to go over the crew. Also gets a chance to vote in for this time. We always want to include our lovely crew here. Trey picked the Browns, the 49ers, the New York Giants, and Tampa Bay. Wicks got Pittsburgh, 49ers, Cowboys, and Tampa Bay. Joanne picked Pittsburgh, Broncos, Cowboys, and Green Bay. And then you've got Jay getting the Browns, the 49ers, the Cowboys, and Green Bay. So we'll all get to see, as the season progresses, how we're lining up but as hosts and cast are going through, or host and crew are going through doing this pick'em. Want to remind everyone real fast that you can find us on social media at APSU CrunchTime. That is at APSU CrunchTime, the little @ sign, APSU CrunchTime on Instagram and Twitter. We're live there. You can ask us questions all the time. Keep updated with us as we post about lovely photos and what is going on this season. Guys, we only got a couple seconds left here, so I just want to say I know the Ravens botched the ball thing against Miami and Lamar Jackson. I did purposely not bring that up. The defense struggled that game. It was a tough game to watch, but I will caveat that with saying I can't believe the Titans lost to Buffalo that way.
I say Titans. I know they're the home team.
Learn how to play defense.
They're going to be 0-3 after this week. I think they will lose to the Raiders.
Absolutely true. Yeah. What about you? Had one more game too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had. Well, I was just going to talk about the Jets and Bengals for a little bit. I want to ask you guys one thing real quick. Tua is leading the league in passing right now. Carson Wentz is number 2. Who's number 3?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco.
It's Joe Flacco for the
right
Jets.
There.
I knew
616 yards. I'm excited to see what he has in the
he's getting replaced
left.
soon.
Yeah, well, he is, no doubt. But the Bengals are 0-2. They're going to have to figure it out. So I'm interested in that game this week.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals have a lot of issues on offensive line, and they've proved that the first 2 weeks. But with that being said, guys, it's been a great time getting a chance to do Crunch Time with you all today. We'll see you all next week for another episode of Crunch Time. Have a good day and have a good weekend.